This is big breaking news. We have the FBI confirming, and we have top government officials coming out and warning of a Black Christmas. They are issuing a Black Christmas warning. We could see major attacks on and around Christmas time. That is exactly what top government officials are warning, and the FBI is coming out and confirming the suspicions as well. All right. And this is due to all of the escalations that we've seen, especially over the past few months. There has been a lot of escalations, and now we are going to see potentially big events happen on Christmas or around Christmas. And these attacks have actually been escalating in frequency. And last Christmas, there actually was a slew of attacks already. Okay, there were attacks in Washington state, around Seattle, Washington. There were attacks on the electrical grid, physical attacks, people damaging it. Tens of thousands of people were without power. All right, so this stuff could happen, and it could be the big one. All right, that is exactly what top government officials are warning of. And the FBI. You can see here, this just came out today, December 5th. FBI director says U.S. is facing highest risk of attack in years. Chris Wray says there are, quote, blinking lights everywhere, and warns terrorists will, quote, exploit the southern border. All right. Chris Wray tells Congress that the threat has gone to a whole other level. He warns violent extremists could draw inspiration from the Hamas attack on October 7th. And a related article, huge group of well-dressed Chinese migrants cross the border. All right. All at the same time, he's warning that terrorists could exploit the southern border, and it is wide open national security risk, and our FBI is now confirming it. All right. We also have top officials warning that we could see a Black Christmas event. We will get to that in just a second, but let's dive into more what the FBI is confirming here. But you can see here, the Bureau is, quote, moving quickly to stop threats against Jews and Muslims across the country, he insisted, and gave his dire analysis of the situation at the border, which is wide open. The border is wide open right now, and it's a national security risk. He said enough fentanyl flooded in from Mexico to kill every American, and admitted he was, quote, concerned migrant crossings are added to the terrorist risk. All right. Enough fentanyl. And where's that coming from? China. All right. We are under a full scale attack right now, and we are wide open. Our defenses are wide open. Our border should be closed and secure, and the FBI is even saying the same thing right now. Wray warned that, quote, violent extremists in the U.S. and abroad could draw inspiration from the Hamas attack, and the FBI is, quote, working around the clock to stop these potential attacks. He said, quote, what I would say is unique about this environment that we are in right now in my career is that while there may have been times over the years where individual threats could have been higher here or there than where they might be right now, I've never seen a time where all the threats, or so many of the threats, are all elevated all at exactly the same time. All right, so this stuff's coming. Big warnings are rumbling, and we could see a major attack around Christmas time. We will get to the details of that in just a second. You can see here he was being questioned by Congress, and Wray replied that, quote, I see blinking red lights everywhere. All right, that's what he was saying about warning signs. He said the U.S. was facing threats from a, quote, veritable rogues gallery of terrorists. Wray used the hearing to make a fresh pitch for renewal for a key spy program, and said it would be, quote, devastating if it was allowed to elapse. Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act is due to expire at the end of the year. It allows the U.S. government to collect without a warrant the communications of targeted foreigners outside America. All right, so they're also saying that they need to renew this spy power, apparently, all right, which is part of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, the FISA court, all right, which has been subject to a lot of controversy around the FISA court and its powers. All right, that's a whole nother topic, but they're saying that they need it for national security apparently as well, and the risks are mounting. So let's get into this Christmas warning. We could see major attacks around Christmas time, or even on Christmas time, in the U.S. or Europe. All right, so we have the FBI director coming out and saying this, testifying to Congress right now. And on the same day, we have top EU officials coming out and saying that the risk for Christmas is high right now. This is an article coming out of AP. Senior EU official warns of a huge security risk in Europe over Christmas as Israel-Hamas war rages. This just came out today, December 5th. And they're saying that they've already seen a ton of localized attacks all over Europe. They just had a bunch of knife attacks in Paris, France, actually. And that's why this picture here at the Eiffel Tower just a few days ago, they had a mass knifing attack. All right. So anywhere that's a public square that is celebrating Christmas right now is going to be targeted potentially. That's what they are warning of right now. And you need to be on high alert and high risk. And we've actually already seen stuff like this in the US. All right. There's been Christmas attacks like this just a couple years ago. This was in 2021. Daryl Brooks found guilty of homicide and deadly Wisconsin Christmas parade attack. 6 were killed when Daryl Brooks drove through the parade in Waukesha. All right, this was in Wisconsin, and this was in 2021, and he was convicted in 2022. All right, so be very alert and vigilant if you are going to Christmas parades, Christmas events, Christmas parties, any type of mass gathering for Christmas, especially New Year's. If you're going to be in New York for Christmas or New Year's, they are going to be on high alert as well, and we could see attacks there. Let's get into more of this warning from this European top official. And it says, Europe faces, quote, huge risk of terrorist attacks over the Christmas holiday due to fallout from the war between Israel and Hamas. The European Union's Home Affairs Commissioner warned Tuesday. The warning came as French investigators probe a fatal weekend near the Eiffel Tower in Paris. Questions were raised about the mental health of the suspect, who swore allegiance to the extremist Islamic State group, like ISIS, I believe that's what they're saying, group, before stabbing a tourist to death and injuring 2 other people with a hammer. Quote, with the war between Israel and Hamas and the polarization it causes in our society with the upcoming holiday season, there's a huge risk of terrorist attacks in the European Union. The EU Home Affairs Commissioner Ylva Johannesson said to reporters. The article went on to say that in several European capitals in recent weeks, tens of thousands of people have staged pro-Palestinian rallies and also marched in support of Israel and against rising anti-Semitism. Pressed repeatedly by the reporters after the meeting, Johansson said that she drew the threat conclusion herself based on the high security levels in some of the 27 EU member countries and an increase in reports of anti-Semitic incidents, as well as more hate speech and extremist content online. Quote, taking all this together, I do the assessment that yes, the threat is significant, she said. She declined to offer any security advice to shoppers over the festive season or people going to Christmas markets, saying that this was a responsibility of national governments. All right, so they're saying that yes, the threat is significant over Christmas, and we could see attacks on Christmas markets, Christmas parades, Christmas events, any type of mass Christmas gathering. We're going to go to a Christmas parade just next week, right? And we're going to be on high alert, and we're going to be protected. We're going to be in a safe location, not right in the middle of it all. We're going to be in a good spot so we can get out if we need to, and we also will have self-defense for ourselves just in case we need it for our family, for my wife and my kids. All right, we're going to go to this Christmas event. So don't stop. You shouldn't not go to these things because you don't want to live in fear. All right, we need to show that we're strong and we're not going to back down from this. They're not going to scare us away from celebrating Christmas and from celebrating our traditions. All right, going to parades, going to holiday events, going to Christmas markets. All this stuff is not going to be stopped for fear. All right, but you need to be protected and you need to be hardened and resilient and a hardened target. You don't want to be a soft target. You want to be a hardened target. So people don't want to mess with you. People don't want to attack you, all right, and you are able to defend yourself and be in strategic locations when you are in big groups of people. Don't be in the middle of the group where you could become a trample victim. You could become a this happens all the time, these mass crushings where giant groups of people all run away, they all evacuate, they all scatter, and dozens of people end up getting crushed and die just from that as well. So make sure you're in a strategic location if you go to any major Christmas event or holiday event, New Year's, anything like that coming up soon. Make sure you are in a good location so you can get out and get away from these places in case something starts happening. All right, know where the exits are. If you're in a building, know where all the exits are and be on the lookout. Don't just keep your head down looking at your phone the whole time. Be on the lookout. Just be profiling. This looks a little suspicious over here. This looks a little strange over here. Keep it to yourself, keep it in your head, but you should have situational awareness. This is what law enforcement does. This is what the police do. This is what military do. They have constant situational awareness of what is going on around them, and you need to be looking out. Anyone that looks suspicious, like this Christmas attack here, it happened very suddenly, all right? But this car was driving erratically. It was not driving correctly, and that if you had your head on a swivel, you could have seen, hey, this car is out of control. Maybe we should back up a little bit from this event, all right? Not everyone had that luxury. Sometimes it's your day. There's nothing you can do. And we're talking a lot about localized attacks here, but these attacks could also be on a large scale, okay? We also could see major attacks on the grid. We could see foreign state governments activating their cyber capabilities on the U.S. electrical grid or U.S. critical infrastructure. We've already seen all these cyber attacks on hospitals, banks, water systems, all the stuff. I've been covering it the past few weeks, especially because it's been amplifying and getting a lot worse. We could see a major attack like that and blackouts on Christmas as well. If you guys remember, there were actually rolling blackouts in North Carolina and South Carolina last year for Christmas too, on Christmas Day, due to energy problems, okay? Because there were such massive snowstorms that the grid was being overwhelmed, right? And people were running their furnace, running their central heating, and the grid was blacking out. They had to turn off certain sections of it and have rolling blackouts, and people would have their power off for hours at a time in North Carolina, South Carolina, who had Duke Energy. This happened just last year. All right, so we could see events like that as well, where even if just a section of the grid is taken offline from a cyber attack, it could be enough to cause a chain reaction where everyone is now compensating and trying to move energy around because this part of the grid is offline, and it could cause even more blackouts. It could cause damage, and they could have to take power generation offline because it's now trying to overcompensate for the generation that was taken offline from a cyber attack. So then they'll just have to take even more off for rolling blackouts, right? This could spiral us into a very bad situation, and in the middle of winter as well, it could be deadly for you. All right, so make sure you are getting prepared. Make sure you have a wood stove. All right, our homestead that we are about to close on in just a couple weeks has a nice little wood stove. I'm so happy it has that. That's something I've always wanted, and I've just never had. I've never had my own wood stove, and it's something that I want to be prepared, because if the power goes out, you can fire that baby up. We got tons of wood, tons of trees, fire it up, and you can cook stuff. You have heat. You can bake on top of that with a dome, all right? And you can heat yourself as well. You won't freeze to death. So look into all this stuff. This stuff's going to be more critical in the future, and especially if we have big attacks. But be prepared. Be ready for a major attack, a major Black Christmas warning, because that's what the FBI and top EU officials are warning of as well. This is like the Department of Homeland Security in the EU. This is like the DHS in the EU, the head of the DHS coming out and saying that there's going to be attacks on Christmas and around Christmas. All right, so please hit it up for me down there to help get this video out to more people. People need to know about this, and they also need to know that they need to be prepared and not be scared. Be prepared, don't be scared. All right, that's the motto here. That's why I try to give you foresight and forewarning, because when the event actually happens, you don't need to panic. You don't need to scramble. You're already ready. You already have your resources and your supplies, and you are ready to go. All right, so thank you guys so much. I hope you have big blessings for your family. I hope you have a good Christmas season, a good Christmas with your family, holiday season, celebrating New Year's, whatever you celebrate. But that's what I celebrate, Christmas with my family. And I hope you guys have a good holiday Christmas season. All right, so thank you guys so much, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.